Hey guys, Art Decline here, Average Picker. So I thought we'd just do a little wrap up on this die pick making thing here, and just to kick it off, I thought I would just show you what mine looks like in comparison to some other just kind of standard ones. We've got from the Praxis collection. This is from the Praxis as well. We've got a couple here, a couple Southboards from their Slimline Euro. Oh, there's the Sparrows short hook in 15 thousandths, and we got the Sparrows, I forget, this is called the Steep or the Deeper or something like that. So yeah, just to kind of give you a general idea of how the shape of mine compares to these others. And you know what, I mean, just looking roughly at it, it doesn't look too bad. I'm going to flip the camera around now, though, and we'll just wrap up and talk about some specifics with it. Okay, so the big question last time was why the handle came off. And I'm not 100% sure, but I will tell you my rough working theory at the moment. When it came off, it didn't pick up any of the markups or anything I had made on the pick. Now, this is the fast drying JB Weld, and let's look at that for a moment. There's a difference between it drying and it being cured. So there's a point at which you can't really work with it anymore, and that can come up rather quickly, but then it's still not dried. But even once it's hit that drying mark, it's not fully cured and set yet, and I think that's where the problem was. So when I did this, I did not clamp it. I didn't really feel like it needed to be. I thought it was going to hold all right. But I think what happened was I let it dry outside on a very hot day, and it was also very humid. And I think that's where the problem was. So, I pinched the two parts down. I held them, I'd done this side initially. Then I went to go attack and then start doing some of the grinding. I put the other side on, but let's not worry about that. But anyway, I had the sides pinched. I held it for, about 4 or 5 minutes. Probably closer to 4 because, you get a little tired just standing there holding something. And let it go. It seemed like it was fine. Set it outside. And it was quite humid today. And I think what happened was that the sun and the heat, because it was probably up over the 90s, along with the high humidity, it just probably caused the wood to swell a little bit and kind of just move around and have it break free, and it probably started to bow a tiny bit. Not anything really perceivable, it wouldn't have to, but it got to the point where it was only holding on by the JB Weld that was on the edges. And then when I started grinding that off and trying to smooth it, of course that's when I noticed the gap, and it revealed that it was just about to pull away, and I just plucked it off. So I think that's what happened. I think it has to do with the fact that I dried it outside on a very hot and very humid day. I might test it again later. I don't know. Okay, so functionality-wise, I have put this thing through the paces and picked a lot of locks with it, or not picked a lot of locks. I'm going to say it looks better than it works. It's kind of fine. It kind of works. I tried it in 1100s. I tried it in some Ilkos, Sargents, some Schlegs. I'm trying to think what else. I sort of tried a WB, but the keyway wasn't really ideal for it. I'm trying to think what else I may have done it in. Glancing. Oh, I tried some Euro ICO locks. And yeah, the 1100s. I thought it was going to work pretty good in the 1100s. It worked really well for about 3/4 of the 1100. Thing is, the whole time I was using it, I kept wanting to reach for something else. And that to me is just a sign that it's not that great of a pick. Like the whole time I was picking, I just kept thinking, oh, grab the Attila, grab the Tron, grab a standard short hook, grab the steep hook. There was always something else coming up in my head that just said, this is going to be a lot easier if you just put this pick down. So I think even though it looks like it kind of should be all right, it's just not so much better than anything else I already own that it made me want to keep using it. The greatest strength, though, for it, and this is going to be a little weird, maybe, is that I don't care about it. That's also how it's a little bent. Yeah, I feel like, oh, I'll just make another one, which is weird. I mean, you should value things you spend time on and that you work with, but there's something that slightly devalues it, at least in my head. And so I found myself really not worrying too much about warding and things. And if it didn't have a great fit, whatever, just force it up and around. I mean, if it gets bent or whatever, whoopee, big deal. Now, the only place it started to bend was it did start to flex through there, and some of that was just from the way I was holding it. I mean, it is only 20 thousandths. I don't know if I can get my index finger out of the way, but when I held it, I have this kind of tendency to push right there in the middle with it kind of balanced against my fingers and stuff. And especially when you're trying to go up at an angle, it just kind of lends itself to bending the pick a little bit there. I do that on the other ones too. I'm just a little more cautious on those. And this one, the lovely thing was I kept going, well, I made it. It doesn't matter. And I've got some other picks like that too that I just don't care about. And it's some level for just poking and prodding through a lock. I think you should have a pick or two on hand that you just don't care about. I don't think that's a real terrible thing. Go ahead and, something you don't really mind if you bend it up, just trying to figure out what's in the lock. Okay, so that, and let's see. So how much did it cost? Well, things I bought. So the metal, obviously, and I picked these up off Amazon. There were 12, and I spent about $22 and some change on it. Now, it turns out that was a special, and the price on this 20 thousandths, when I went back and tried to look at it, had jumped up to 40 something dollars. So I'd say, these are all over eBay, so you can probably find another one that's on sale or whatever, but just know it does, apparently, you can find it cheaper than, 40 something dollars. Got this for 22. I bought both of these bits specifically for this, so I'm not looking at the cost of things I already had. These are carbide bits, and they turned out to be kind of crap, and not much use at all. So that was like $9, I think, each. So that was kind of down the tube. I bought a variety pack of cutting discs after I had issues with that standard one that comes with most sets. So this is just really a mixed up thing. You get a whole variety of their different cutting discs. I spent about $14 on this variety pack. Now what I would do is I would just buy, where is it? I would just buy the metal one now. Yeah, it came with I think 3 or 4 of these metal ones. Let's see. Yeah, 3 of these. I would probably just buy a pack of these, though I might step up and buy one of the diamond bit ones. Those are quite a bit more expensive. But this variety pack was $14, and I figured it was better to buy a variety pack than to buy a bunch of one that I wasn't 100% sure of. So let me just try them out and see what happens. I kind of wish Gary over on the Discord, he had pointed me towards just today a carbide silicone carbide grinding stone, and that looked really ideal as opposed to the standard grinding stones that usually come with all of your kind of cheaper Dremel packs. So I'm probably going to look at picking one of those up. You can find them online, it looks like, for about $4 or $5. Okay. I bought this JB Weld specifically for the pick making, and really just because my other JB Weld was dried up or nearly empty or lost in the shed in a corner. I find myself at Lowe's and I just go, oh, grab some more JB Weld or 2-part epoxy or something. And let's see, I already had the sandpaper. I used, 600 and 1400 grit. Those are the only 2 I used because that's what I already had. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I bought specifically for this. I bought some Colettes for the Dremel, but I needed those anyway. I don't really consider that a pick cost. So I'd say all in, not counting stuff I already had, I'm in for about $60. And I did the one screw-up pick. I sent a bit of one of the pieces of metal off to somebody, and I've still got the, 9 or 10 pieces left to keep experimenting on or do whatever with. And of course, there's plenty of JB Weld. The discs are still, this is actually the disc I used. It is still holding up its shape. Okay, show you there. It's really not lost very much of itself. The same with the grinding stones. The grinding stones were starting to develop a groove around them, and I just don't have one on hand to show you, or I would. But yeah, one was starting to develop a groove where I had laid in a little hard and a little too slow into the pick handle. So, the supplies are going to last, though. There's still a ton of sandpaper. It's sandpaper I've been using for, I don't know, a year or something. So yeah, that's kind of the cost. I was in for about $60. Trying to think if there's anything else to let you guys fill you in on. Oh, I down in the description I will put a link. I've developed a playlist, and it's called Die Pick Making Others, and those are links that I've been able to immediately find to other people's videos on pick making, and I'm going to try to keep updating it, and I'm going to try to keep adding to that list. So we'll see. It's a little bit difficult, actually. I was kind of surprised finding videos on YouTube. I thought I would find a whole lot of them, but the search results seem very dominated, either by Bill's pretty good series from a very long time ago, where he goes through even starting at looking at different types of metal. It seemed to be dominated by that, and the stuff where someone's got like a Zippo lighter with a piece of metal attached to it. It's like, pick any lock with this electric toothbrush trick. There were a lot of those. So I'll keep searching, and I'll keep adding to that list. And let's see, I'm trying to think what else. Of course, the subreddit for lockpicking is going to have people on there that do a lot of pick making. So that'd be a good place to get more questions and stuff answered. And I'd say hop over on the lockpicking Discord as well, because there's a lot of builders on there, do a whole variety of amazing stuff, and they don't necessarily run a YouTube channel or whatever, or they're not always posting videos on the stuff they're making, but they're a wealth of information, and even just kind of absently mentioning some of this, I had a lot of good feedback. And so I know I did it in the other video, but I'm going to just go ahead and thank you guys. I got a variety of questions. I got a variety of comments, either in the video or over on the subreddit stuff. I got some private messages offering advice and tips and your kind of ways of doing things. And that's been great. I made notes on a lot of that. And yeah, pick number 2, we will definitely probably put some of those techniques to use. So I know I may have answered you a little briefly, or I may have been on my mobile or something and just gone, well, here's why I did it the way I did it. But yeah, I appreciate all those comments. It's been great, and hope the series has been minorly enjoyable for you. I'm hopefully going to be able to get back to picking fairly soon. Just gotta find something to pick. I may have to go on a giant lock scrounging spree or something. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I can take the iPad and take you around scrounging for locks with me too. That might I don't know if that'd make an interesting video or not. But anyway, guys, that's it for the pick making. I'm going to consider this kind of a failure. I learned a lot in the process. I learned a lot of stuff that not to do. And I think one of my two big takeaways, let's just do that. Take your time. Take your time. Don't rush it. And I think I'm going to have to put a little more research into the tips, because I think that's why this thing just doesn't function all that great. There's just something about that tip that doesn't want to quite work the picks or work the pins that well. I don't know. Looking at it, everything says it should, and I just kept wanting to reach for something that I knew was going to be better. So that to me makes this a little questionable. All right, guys. Anyway, you have a good night.